Greetings, Dr. Wolfula here to present a very important special audio presentation that your ears cannot dare unlisten to. Does that make sense? Oh, it doesn't matter. Listen to this.
Welcome to someone's favorite movie. We're coming to you from the Pod Shack outside beautiful Bay City, Michigan. My name is Randy. With me is Tomko, the man who is always saying to people, let's get sushi and not pay.
Yes, because let's face it, I want to go out there and commit some crimes.
Well, you are a thug of the highest order.
And a punk.
Yes, nothing screams punk rock like Tomko, ladies and gentlemen.
No, total nonconformist.
You are wearing your spiked collar right now.
Well, yeah, it's a Saturday afternoon. What do you expect?
See also a cutoff denim vest thing and a mohawk.
Well, no. I've got the whole shaved head thing going this time around. It's spring.
Oh, man. Look at this guy. He's a trendsetter.
Well, you know, it's kind of like you can't wear bright colors during the wintertime. You can't wear long hair when it's sunny.
That's a fair rule. I've never heard that before. You can't wear white after Labor Day. Or before Labor Day. I can never get that right. That's why
you got to get once, say St. Patrick's Day rolls around, you got to get rid of the mohawk.
Okay. I mean, beard season and mohawk season go hand in hand, apparently.
Exactly.
All right. Now I'm catching on. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're doing a movie that's kind of a sci-fi punk rock apocalyptic comedy. It's an LA story. It's a cult classic. It's a giant WTF in film form. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Repo Man. This has been on my list to cover since the dawn and inception of this favored program that you're listening to right now, and I'm really excited we finally got to it.
First time seeing it.
First time seeing it.
Yes, I've been aware of this movie since I was a little kid. I'm not even sure what year it came out. I want to say like maybe 83?
84. It was filmed in 83, yeah.
Okay, I was fairly close. But I was maybe 7 years old when this came out, and it just looked too weird for my tastes at the time. I was more into Transformer cartoons.
Yeah, well, I don't think this is aimed at a 7-year-old market.
And it just fell through the cracks. I just knew it was this weird science fiction movie about guys repossessing cars. And I knew it had a good reputation, but it just fell through the cracks. It just sounded too damn weird for me.
It does have a good reputation. It even has a Criterion Collection disc, which is kind of the gold standard in cinema. If Criterion says you're worthy, then you get a Blu-ray with all the bells and whistles. And it certainly does have one, and I own it because I'm a big fan of this one. So I was excited to share it with you. And why am I a big fan of it? I don't know. We'll talk about it, I guess. For those that don't know, Repo Man is indeed a film about repo men, starring Emilio Estevez in arguably his first major role, and Harry Dean Stanton as Bud, the man with the repo code.
I thought that this was just... the only way I can really describe it is surreal.
Oh, it's definitely surreal. When I was watching it again this last time, I was like, oh my God, this could take place in the same universe as Surf 2, a movie we covered last summer.
I could see that.
It's like a giant fever dream of just surreal imagery and weird happenings.
Though, I mean, I really have to give the screenwriter credit. I really enjoyed the characters in this movie.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things that stands out to me is it's kind of got that 90s indie boom feeling to it. and it came out in 1984. Like, a lot of the movie just features Emilio Estevez's character Otto settling into his role of a professional repo man and having all these scenes and vignettes that are conversations or weird happenings, and they wouldn't feel out of place in Richard Linklater's like Slacker or a Kevin Smith movie.
Yes. In fact, for the first 10, 15 minutes, I was really reminded of Slacker. I thought maybe it was just going to be like the camera roaming and observing these weird scenes. But then it turns out there's an actual plot.
Yeah, there's an actual plot. It's weird AF, but it's there. This film was actually financed, believe it or not, and championed by Michael Nesmith. Do you know who this is?
I am very familiar with the works of our wool-knitted cap-wearing hero.
Yes, he's a songwriter, an ex-member of the Monkees, and a rich man, and it's not from the fame and fortune that was being a songwriting monkey, but it was because his mother actually invented liquid paper. Can you even believe it?
Someone had to do it.
Someone had to do it. It was a great idea for all those typewriters out there.
Yep.
So many goddammits were eliminated once the liquid paper was invented. So the film was made by Alex Cox. He was the director and writer, and he kind of envisioned it at first as a comic book, but he kind of thought he was too lazy to do an actual comic book. So
that's actually really cool because it felt like a mid-90s Vertigo book. It really did.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. Absolutely. And the Blu-ray actually, the Criterion collections come with these big books, and in it are the first like 4 or 5 pages that he wrote and drew of what was going to be Repo Man. So that's kind of a cool feature.
And I did a little bit of research by just like glancing over Alex Cox's Wikipedia for this. I guess that they've done sequels for this, including a comic book.
Yeah, wasn't it called like Waldo's Hawaiian Holiday or something?
Yeah, some real oddball title.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. They actually started filming it. It was supposed to be a quasi sequel to this, and I guess they ran out of money. So, a graphic novelist saw the screenplay online or something and approached Alex Cox to just write and draw the thing. And it's out there if you could find it, if you're a fan of this movie. There's also a sort of sequel called Repo Chick that came out in 2009, written and directed by Alex Cox. He doesn't own the rights to Repo Man. Universal does, but he tried to do something in the vein of Repo Man. And because of legal reasons, none of the original characters are back. There's really no connection to the first movie. Even still, Universal kind of hit them with a cease and desist, so the movie never went anywhere. And the next year, they came out with a movie called Repo Men, which is a sci-fi movie that is not clever or smart or witty or a comment on anything.
Well, the fact that it's unheard of is kind of it kind of sums it all up in its silence, you know?
Yep. What do we think of the cast, Tomko? We got Emilio Estevez right before The Breakfast Club. We got Harry Dean Stanton. We got a bunch of extras that do a great job, I think.
Honestly, I really, really thought the cast was well put together. And not even Emilio Estevez, but the supporting cast was really good. And it was one of those situations where you may recognize somebody from small roles that they've done, but because by and large you've never seen these other people, they just kind of become those characters in your head. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
You don't have the baggage of saying, oh, hey, that was the guy who was in the background of Superman 3.
Yeah.
But no, I just thought that, the one complaint I have about this movie, maybe it's because I was watching it at like 1 a.m, I can't really remember the characters' names,
That's fair.
but the other Repo Men could have all had their own movies.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting you bring up their names because this movie really has zero product placement in it. Most of the things in the background are just
They look like generic, what are they, Sam's Choice or America's Choice products that you find at the Walmart.
yeah, they're
White with bold blue printing.
absolutely. And if you don't notice this at first, it's bluntly pointed out to you after one scene when Bud says to Otto, "Come on, kid, let's go get some drinks." And the next scene fades into a close-up of a 6-pack of a product called drinks being ran up right at the register.
My favorite was the can of food.
Yes, there's a can of food.
That's some good slop.
Yep. It's funny because there's no product placement, but there kind of is. It's...
Well, I noticed bottles of Jim Beam at the liquor store.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like it's a movie where everyone has an ethos that they claim to live by. Like, it's concerned with the punk notion of selling out. Like, Otto sells out his punk lifestyle to get a job, and his punk friend later wants to settle down and get married. And Bud has the repo code that he holds so dear. And Otto's parents sell out to organized religion. And the 3 repo employees that you don't remember their names are actually Bud, Light, and Miller is the eccentric mechanic at the Helping Hand. What is it? The Helping Hand Agency or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Turns out to be the wisest character of all.
Yep. So there's some subtle jabs at consumerism here, I think.
Well, Bud and Light, come on.
Yeah. Yep. It's funny because Harry Dean Stanton as Bud, one of Alex Cox's friends described him when he was being cast as having that Old West cadaver look, which is just the perfect description.
Yes.
And it's funny because when I watched this movie this time, I worked with a guy also named Randy at the retail paradise that gainfully employed me. And he had been in the grocery business for his entire life, pretty much 40 years or whatever.
Did he tell you that, did he start everything out? Well, a grocery man doesn't do this. A grocery man's constantly vigilant.
Yes, actually.
Oh my God.
It just reminded me of him. He would always give his views on the job and what he needed to do. And he also lived by his own personal code. One of the things was when he was young, he was like 8, he said, and he walked outside and he said the guy next door got high on the glue. This is a real quote because I just remember it. He got high on the glue and jumped out of a second story story.
This code includes don't get high in the glue and jump out a window.
Yes.
All right, I can check that off my list.
He saw the guy jump out of the second story of a house next door and, get seriously injured. And he said, well, I'm never doing drugs or drinking. Okay, fair enough. His other thing is he would never leave. His dad always told him never to leave the house looking like something less than you actually are. So he would always wear dress pants wherever he went, but also a full-on cowboy outfit as well. Hat, spurs, stirrups, everything. It's true. Yeah.
I'm just trying to picture what it would look like having a cowboy walk around with chaps and khakis underneath.
Well, yep, he did it on his days off. That's what he did. He had a horse, and one day he told me he rode his horse to Cracker Barrel and tied it up to the porch. Cracker Barrels have that extended porch. He tied it to the porch, and he couldn't figure out why everyone was giving him weird looks. You rode a horse and tied it to Cracker Barrel. Like, I don't know.
That's something you don't see every day.
You don't see it every day. But, I mean, he reminded me so much of Bud in this, Harry Dean Stanton in this movie.
I could see that, yeah.
During the making of Repo Man, there was a regime change that happened at Universal Pictures. So Most of the films being made in that era were dumped by the new head of Universal, Frank Price. So Repo Man kind of was a victim of that. It wasn't really seen at first. It was briefly released in Chicago and L.A. before going straight to video. However, the movie would rise from the dead after its punk-heavy soundtrack became a huge success.
Yes, the soundtrack is amazing in this movie.
Yeah, we have the theme song is written by Iggy fucking Pop, for crying out loud.
You know what? That is a hell of a hook, too. And honestly, that is one of the things that's really standing out about this movie. Again, I had no idea what the hell I was in for when I clicked play on this. And so I'm seeing these punks. And at first I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get to see a contemporary view of what Hollywood thought punks looked like.
Yeah.
But by the end of this movie, it definitely felt authentic. It had a punk rock do-it-yourself feel to it. But it somehow got funded and released by a major studio.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely an interesting curio from the period.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah. It's definitely a product of its time. Just from the punk leanings. Like, that was when punk, that's where we get all the stereotypes of punk, really. Like, every time you see a movie, or I don't know, in my head, that's what punks look like with the I don't know. What am I trying to say?
They look like they just shoplifted something from Goodwill.
Yeah.
And they're about ready to cut you with a rusty spoon.
Yeah, they're about ready to get transformed into warthogs and rhinos and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Exactly.
One of the few consumer brand products specifically mentioned by name in this movie is a Chevy Malibu, and it's a cursed machine that brings nothing but bad luck and death with it. It has a murder trunk, Tomko, for crying out loud. A murder trunk.
And I can't help but wonder whether or not that inspired Tarantino with Pulp Fiction's briefcase.
Well, apparently there's now I'm very interested in this. Apparently both of them are homages to a 1955 movie called Kiss Me Deadly.
Really?
And it's a movie about Detective Private Eye Mike Hammer. And him, as well as various other people, are on the hunt for this mysterious box. And at the end of the movie, one of the femme fatales steals the box from Mike Hammer. She opens it. There's a blinding light, a shriek, and she burst into flames. Yes. 1955, Tomko.
We might have to hunt this one down.
I agree. So
there's also, real quick before we change subject, there's also very strong overtones of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that same thing happens when he gets his face melted off after opening the Ark of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there's a little bit of atomic panic happening in this movie as well. I mean, definitely it was a concern in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
UFOs and the Cold War and nuclear war, possibly. Boy, that doesn't sound familiar at all, does it, Tomko?
I was just thinking, it's good to know that Grandpa and Grandma had the same paranoia that we did.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I was having this paranoia like 3 weeks ago, so.
Oh, you got over it. Good for you.
No, well, I kind of shoved it out of my head by playing video games and watching movies, so.
Thank God for escapism.
Thanks, entertainment. I mean, if I was out there playing hopscotch and skipping stones, yeah, that's probably all I would think about. But, you know, I got enough to pass my time.
Exactly. The blinking lights will take me away.
Hopefully.
But no, normally when we talk about these movies, I always complain about how there really wasn't much of a plot. But this one, it was a thin plot, but it was a fun plot. Yeah. I'm still wondering exactly what the story is with the driver of the car. I'm assuming he was an alien, but he looked like Fred Armisen on a bender.
It was just a mild detail. It was just mentioned once, but he is a scientist and he claims he invented the neutron bomb. So he's the one that stole the car.
The alien corpses. Okay.
Yeah. He claims he invented the neutron bomb, and I guess in one draft of the script, it wasn't aliens in the back in the trunk. It was a actual neutron bomb, and there was a big, huge atomic explosion. But again, this was working on a budget, so none of that happened. So we have unseen alien corpses just stacked in the back of a trunk, and they're so radioactive they turn you into a burning skeleton, and all that's left is your boots, as we see right off the bat. This movie doesn't hold back. In the first 2 minutes, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, what did I get into? But trust me, it's a fun ride.
Now, was it Invaders from Mars or Invasion of, there was some sci-fi movie that came out in the 50s that effect looked like it was lifted directly from War of the Worlds or something like that?
I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
The effect of the people being melted with the glowing skeleton looked straight out of a 1950s sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. This is kind of a love letter to the 50s sci-fi. If it wasn't for all the deliberate punk situations and characterizations in the movie, you could almost say it was filmed took place in the 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can see where there's a fascination for this movie. Just because, I mean, there's a lot, no pun intended, a lot going on under the hood. There's the punk rock mentality, there's the anti-consumerism, there's the disdain for the flower power generation.
Yeah.
No, this was actually a really cool movie.
Yeah. So basically the plot is everybody's trying to hunt down this Chevy Malibu. And Otto, played by Emilio Estevez, he gets fired at his job as a supermarket stock clerk.
I picked up on that right away.
Yep. And it's funny because he goes to a party where there's a mosh pit and everything, and he kind of gets rejected. His girlfriend, he goes to get his girlfriend a beer, and she's in bed with somebody else. And it's funny, in the supermarket scene, his coworker, Kevin, is singing the words to a 7-Up jingle. And then after he gets dumped, Otto is chanting the words to a Black Flag song after he misses out on getting laid. It's kind of an irony. Just one corporate consumer product noise replaced with a different sort.
Yeah, but come on. That had a spirit of rebelliousness that 7-Up just couldn't even imagine.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, well, if you say anything with enough intensity, it has a spirit of rebelliousness, I think.
Now I really want to see Henry Rollins doing a 7-Up commercial, damn it.
Oh, man, that'd be perfect.
That would be the most intense clear soda commercial ever.
Yeah. Anyways, he gets fired and kind of gets shanghaied into, can I even say that word anymore? I don't know. It's probably not PC. He gets duped into helping Harry Dean Stanton on a gig, rebuilding a car. And at first he wants nothing to do with it because, damn the man, damn the scene, damn corporate, blah, blah, blah. But then he gets paid $25 and he's all about it.
Well, I mean, it kind of appealed to his nature with the whole conning people into either giving him their car or sneaking away from it. It reminded me of the beginning of Pineapple Express, where you saw Seth Rogen's character as the process server.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of all these little movies where the main antagonist is the main protagonist is trying to convince and con his way into stealing something, but it's not for their personal gain. It's because of their job.
Yeah. He kind of gets a thrill out of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
He thinks it's kind of cool being a bizarro Robin Hood, repoing from the poor and giving back to the rich. And he's got this adrenaline-fueled smile the whole time. And that it's kind of a rush for him. And I guess that's basically what he's searching for, is a rush.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before this job, he just walks around with a blank Gen X stare on his face and
kicking a can down the road. And
yeah, kind of
hands in pockets, head hung low,
kind of sulking around, and kind of has all this anger for nothing and everything all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching this. It's not that different from the jock he plays in Breakfast Club at first, really.
No, I mean, before we started recording, we were talking about actors who turn in the same performance in every movie.
Yeah.
And now that I'm thinking about it, Emilio Estevez could definitely fit in that category, at least pre-Mighty Ducks Emilio Estevez, because that was kind of a different character. But
yeah, he actually smiles in that movie. So, yeah, you're right. It is a different character.
But, yeah, Otto's not that far removed from Billy the Kid.
Oh, man, that's a good... I forgot about that movie. Yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah, definitely. I could see that.
But, no, just the whole vibe of this movie is cool. Where the thing I really enjoyed about it is they took their time to really establish these characters. They all do the same job, but they have completely different approaches. It's like Bud takes himself way too seriously. What is it? Light? Is that the other guy that was going out collecting cars?
Yes.
Just has this cynical world weariness vibe to him I was picking up on, but he is damn effective.
Yeah.
Miller's just a complete weirdo, and then you've got the boss trying to hold everything together.
Yeah, and Bud he's got all these rules that he lives by, and he's a little bit more cautious. Where Light carries a gun and is shooting. They're blanks, but
shooting into houses.
Yeah, they're blanks, but he's still standing there shooting in the houses as a guy is opening fire on them, and
doesn't break a sweat.
Doesn't care. I mean, it's almost the other end of the spectrum, and in that scene, you're like, okay, so Otto's not going to tip that far. He may become a Bud if he sticks on this path, but he's not going to become a Light.
Goddamn, Bud Light and Miller, I love it.
Yes. Yeah, and so the punk rock sensibility comes from Alex Cox, who he parlayed this into a movie called Sid and Nancy about the life and times of Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols. So
damn good movie, actually.
I've not seen it. I don't know why I haven't seen it, but I need to see it soon, I think.
Yeah, you should.
But after that, I mean, Alex Cox hasn't had a storied career, really.
I guess he kind of got, according to Wikipedia, he got blacklisted because he took work during writer's strike.
Oh, that'll do it. Yeah.
And so he had to kind of scrounge for work in Europe and in Central America. And eventually he settled into a role of teaching screenwriting and production in Colorado.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good for him. That's awesome. In case you were wondering, Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars. He said, I saw Repo Man near the end of a busy stretch on the movie beat, 3 days during which I saw more relentlessly bad movies than during any comparable period in memory. He never held back punches, that Ebert.
No, he did not.
Most of those bad movies were so cynically constructed out of formula, ideas, and commercial ingredients that watching them was an ordeal. Repo Man comes out of left field, has no big stars, didn't cost much, takes chances, dares to be unconventional, is funny and works. There is a lesson here.
Yes, there absolutely is a lesson. That's one of my big complaints about modern cinema is that everything has to be a tentpole. If it doesn't make $1 billion, it's a failure. So pump as much money into it, get as much familiar IP in there as you can, and let's just, sell toys and make a profit. I really enjoy movies like these that have just a tiny fraction of the budget of a Marvel movie, isn't concerned about, merchandise tying in, just has an interesting and unique story. And if it is an absolute failure, it's a pisser, but there isn't a whole lot lost.
Yeah. One of my favorite movies of the last few years is a movie called Sorry to Bother You, which I'm not sure you're aware of, but
no,
we're going to have to cover it at some point this summer because, oh boy, that movie. And it's like this. It came out in the middle of blockbuster and reboot and sequel and franchise, and it just quietly came out, had some mild critical acclaim, went away, and I feel like it's going to be one of those movies in 10 years that people talk about in film circles like, oh my God, that movie's bananas.
Okay, you definitely have my interest, sir.
I mean, it's got one of, so I don't want to ruin anything because I do want to do this movie, but it's got a premise and you're all right with it and you're with it. And then it takes another left turn that is so ridiculous, but somehow you're still with it.
Okay.
So, I'm really selling it. But man,
you actually are.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm adding it to the list.
Excellent. But yeah, man, I can't recommend Repo Man enough. I've seen it so many times, and the first time I saw it was in college when I was getting back into movies. And I was getting back into movies thanks to Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino, and I was looking and searching for all these weird little indie movies.
But that's the thing. This is not an indie movie.
No, it's not. It's a studio movie, which is crazy. It just has an indie feel. I can't imagine like a Universal releasing a movie like this today. I just can't. Unless some amazing figurehead becomes in charge of it, I just don't see it.
No.
And it's a shame, It's a shame that everything has to be a franchise, even when there's like a movie that becomes a hit, like Free Guy starring Ryan Reynolds. Fun movie. Now there's going to be a sequel. Like,
of course there is.
Because it made fucking money. So now all of a sudden, let's sequel, world building, mythology. No, stop it.
In all fairness, they tried it with this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Before we get on our hill and ready to die for this movie, they tried it.
They did try it. You are right. Alex Cox, damn you. You made me eat my own words.
You sold out, damn it.
You sold out. You became everything you hated. You're the man in the tie now, damn it.
But no, this was just a fun experience of a movie.
Yeah. The ending, spoiler, we're going to give away the ending. I don't care. Because for me, the ending is like the most memorable thing.
Yes.
It's super cheap, but so effective. So at the end, Otto's basically the last man standing. And at this point,
because they did have a great Mexican standoff that looked like it was straight out of Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. There's a standoff between Bud, Otto, and Otto's former punk friends in a grocery store or a convenience store, and the convenience store clerk gets involved. There's a great scene where his former punk friend Archie is dying, and no, not Archie. His name's Duke, I think. And he's like, I know a life of crime led me to this sorry fate.
Yes.
And yet I blame society. Society made me what I am.
Which is great because he's skewering punk culture.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nothing is sacred to this guy. I love it.
Yep. And like right before that, he proposes to his punk girlfriend. Basically, he wants to get married and have her baby, and she's like,
Yes.
What are you going on about?" So Otto's the last man standing. At this point, there's the Rodriguez brothers are searching for this.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the brothers.
We need to talk about the Rodriguez brothers. Yeah. So the Rodriguez brothers are like the Helping Hand Agency's arch enemies.
Yes, they're the rival gang, but they respect each other because at the end of the day, they're car thieves just like us.
Yep. And they seem to have, they both have a unspoken code between each other. And I don't know. I really like the Rodriguez brothers. I could watch a movie called The Rodriguez Brothers, I think.
That's why I'm saying all these characters could easily carry their own movie.
Yeah. So the Rodriguez brothers are after this thing. Otto shacks up with a girlfriend who turns out to be some sort of government scientist person. There's a whole government agency looking for this car because, aliens. I think there's all sorts of innuendo that it was broken out of Area 51.
Area 51, yep.
So they go back to the repo yard. There's helicopters. There's people with guns. And then there's Miller the mechanic. Miller the mechanic gets into this glowing green car and he tells Otto to get in with him. And it flies away. Otto's like, "You don't even know how to drive." And he doesn't drive it. It just flies away.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering to myself, how does he know how to put this thing not only into drive and reverse, but into fly? And it's like, oh, who cares? It's awesome.
Yep, exactly. So the man that was this eccentric creep who is a complete whack job.
Theories and all this, yep.
Yeah, he's got all these theories about how
all of his theories are true.
Yeah, about how spaceships might actually be time machines and blah 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 blah. Well, maybe he was right. And then we see the car fly through LA in the worst imaginable special effects, but you don't care because you're with it.
And you know what? The cheesy green screen effects fit this movie like a glove.
Yeah, they really do.
No, I cannot recommend this movie highly enough.
Samesies. All right, sir. I think we wrap this up. Tell people where they can find you on that World Wide Web.
You can listen to the repeats of a little show called Jake and Tom Conquer the World, in which we talked about all kinds of weird things. Comic books, movies, television, everything in between, up to and including time travel and what we would do if we could beat our younger selves up. If you want to reach out to us, you can find me on Twitter at The Drunken Dork or at a little group on Facebook called Jake and Tom Conquer the Group. Randy, what about you, sir?
You can find me on a big dumb comedy show called Miserable Retail Slave. We're coming up on our 10th year, for crying out loud. Ugh, that's a long time to do this.
10 years. You're gonna make it.
Gonna make it. Limping, but still making it.
We damn near made it ourselves before we gave up the ghost.
Yeah. And I mentioned Miserable Retail Slave because that's leading into the next movie we're going to cover, Tomko.
Oh?
Our mutual friend and my co-host on Miserable Retail Slave is opening for the great Jay Moore in Wisconsin next week.
Oh, I was getting excited for him until you told me it was in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I know. It's in Wisconsin, but he's with the great Jay Moore from Jerry Maguire and the show Action, and currently he's in the show The Cleaning Lady on Fox, but also he was in a little early 2000 slasher movie called Cherry Falls, and that's what we're covering next week. Boy, am I excited for you to experience this one.
I have to admit, this one completely fell off of my radar. I am not familiar with it.
I'm making Tommy take a Blu-ray copy of Cherry Falls as well as a poster of Cherry Falls for Jay Moore to sign, because that's what I do with my friends. I burden them with tasks. Damn it.
Okay. All right. That's a good sign. If you're willing to have that memorabilia on your wall, that's a good sign.
I like it a lot, and I think the fact that Tommy's bringing it I think it'll bring a smile to Jay Moore's face. And once you see this movie and see his performance, I think you'll see why.
Okay.
I already know one criticism you might have of the movie, and I'm here to say, oh no, sir, let me tell you something. So I'm already
Okay.
preparing.
What, Will Smith's not in it, is it?
Oh no, Will Smith's not in it.
Okay.
After that, we were going to do a movie called Alligator, but I think we need to push that aside because more pressing business. Do you still have a subscription to Shudder, sir?
I think I let it lapse, but it's easily enough to reinstate.
Okay. So on Shudder, they're having a halfway to Halloween extravaganza. And on there is a movie called The Devils, which is something we need to cover because it disappears quickly. It's a movie that's very hard to find, and about once a year, Shudder has it on their service for about 3 weeks, and then it goes away because it's very controversial. So I think we need to cover The Devils after that.
And if I may make a request, we do have to talk about Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter.
Yes, this is true. Oh, damn, and I forgot about Texas Chainsaw. We'll have to squeeze that in at some point real quick. Listen, we have to be completists.
We do, but
yeah, that's how I feel too. Well, I think that about does it. So get real excited. Track down Cherry Falls. People, watch it. Then listen along. We'll see you next time on someone's favorite movie. Bye-bye.
See ya.